Welcome, welcome everyone. It's Wendy Trevathan here for your Nurse Voice Matters. And I've got the beautiful Celeste Cleary joining me today. Good afternoon, Celeste.
Hi, Wendy. Lovely to be here.
You're more than welcome. So, Celeste, Your Nurse Voice Matters is a podcast that's been going for a few months now, and I'm delighted to have you here today. But our audience doesn't know anything about you. So is it okay if I actually share with them your bio?
Sure.
Excellent. All right. I'll read this out for everyone. So Celeste Cleary empowers individuals and organisations to prioritise wellbeing, achieve balance and foster thriving, emotionally intelligent teams. Through dynamic workshops and engaging talks on emotional intelligence and embracing change, she helps create healthier, more engaged workplaces that reduce turnover, boost productivity and raise business profiles. As a health coach and a registered nurse with 30 years of experience across regional, rural and remote Queensland and Canada, she understands the challenges people face in maintaining their health and their balance. Her expertise includes supporting organisations and health professionals to navigate stress, enhance emotional resilience, and build sustainable habits that promote long-term well-being. Grounded in positive psychology, her approach blends evidence-based insights with personal and professional experience. Whether through leadership workshop talks or tailored coaching, she provides practical strategies to help individuals and teams flourish both at work and in life. How exciting. Thank you for providing that bio. It gives us a snapshot into your background, Celeste, and the passion is coming out in that bio very strongly.
Yeah. Yes, I think it's good to share that. I think people tap into that, don't they? I mean, I don't think there's too many nurses that we don't start out with the passion. At least we might get a little bit jaded here and there at times, depending on the environment we're in or what we're dealing with at the time. But
Absolutely, absolutely. And whereabouts did you train initially? You trained in a hospital?
I did. So I was in the very first intake that went through the University of Southern Queensland in Toowoomba back
Yes.
in 1990. And I went in, in those days, I was a mature age student because I was 21. But yeah, it was quite an interesting experience.
Yes. So I finished in 1989, so 3 years in a hospital and then went on to do my degree. So it was during that time of transition and everyone was getting used to, it being then a 3-year degree. Yeah, definitely. So with your experience and what you've done, I'd be really keen to sort of hear from you what's been the highlight of your career? What has stood out for you over that time?
Well, it's really hard to isolate one highlight, I think, Wendy, because I've loved all the different places that I've got to work. I think what kicked it off was getting a job up in Mount Isa as a graduate. When we were the first group coming out. There were very few grad positions, and they were all taken. And I saw an ad in the Sydney Morning Herald, because I'm from New South Wales, advertising for level 1 nurses in theatre at Mount Isa Hospital, and I thought, well, I'm a level 1 nurse, so I should ring them and see. So I rang them, and basically that was it. I had a job very quickly, and sort of it was the first time I sort of overcame that resistance. And I was pretty shy and pretty reserved, and that it just gave me such a wealth of experience in life as well as in nursing. I got to go to Mornington Island and work in a remote community up there for a while. I got to experience working right throughout the hospital in every ward to do after hours nurse managing. So I, was more involved in coordination of the resources. And so I felt like it really rounded me out over that 10-year period. So I'll always be grateful to the time I had in Mount Isa.
What a wonderful opportunity. I
Mm.
speak to nurses quite often and graduate nurses or nurses that have missed out on a graduate program. And isn't it great that you saw an opportunity and just ran with it?
Mm.
Because I hear a lot of graduates get a little bit disillusioned when they do the interview process and then they miss out on a position, and
Mm.
they're advised to go and seek other opportunities. A lot of them are channeled into aged care, but you obviously found an opportunity that presented itself and took
Yeah.
advantage, took the opportunity by the horns and ran with it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I had to be a bit creative. Like I had to
Yes.
think, well, theatre, I don't know that it's my passion, but hey, I can get passionate about anything to get my foot in the door and put everything into it and see where it leads. So I think it's really good to stay curious with those, and doors close.
Yes,
Mm.
yeah, curiosity can open doors for you.
Mm.
Absolutely. So, and did that start your journey towards understanding different areas, different workplaces, and you know, it was beyond the hospital walls or the clinical setting, that well-being? What kind of introduced you to the world of well-being coaching, health
Yes.
coaching? Yeah.
So fast forward another 15 years. So by that stage, I was working in intensive care here in Rockhampton, and I loved the work that I did, and I was stepping up into doing shift coordination level 2 position, and there's a lot of conflict happening for me, multiple levels, and so I had a bit of a crisis of confidence because I had no problem with coordinating resources and people and patients and families and all that stuff. But it's a very technical role in ICU, and and I didn't have confidence with the equipment, and so I went and did an authentic leadership course to build my confidence and see how I can just seize the opportunities and get into this equipment stuff. And I found in doing that what I was really passionate about and where I was feeling conflicted. And the conflict for me is that I've become aware of how we can manage diabetes much better and insulin resistance, and seeing the metabolic disease that I've been dealing with and seeing it absolutely explode over the 30 years that I've been nursing. And we're not getting better at managing it. Well, at that point, we weren't. I think we're slowly getting a better understanding of that. But caring for new diabetics and teaching them to count carbs and all this stuff was just so in conflict with what I knew was working for people outside of the constructs of the policies and procedures that we have to follow in health in Queensland Health. So I felt like we got to do better. I want to do better than that. So I want to get ahead of the this burden of chronic disease. And so
Mm.
that's when I had that opportunity to step back in doing that coaching course where I was coached, and realized that there's other avenues. And I started to look deeper and I discovered health and wellness coaching.
Mm.
And from that it's blossomed because I was only sort of confident doing a one-to-one kind of coaching situation. But I realized that to have impact, to reach more people, I needed to get confident to speak to groups. And so I, found a way and did Toastmasters, got a coach to hold me really accountable. And that's when I really started to hit my straps. So, and it's so much more fulfilling because you're giving information, but you're helping people figure out what gets in the way. What are the obstacles? What if you could, have a go and achieve this thing you'd really want? Like, what doors does that open? And really get them to be thinking outside of our narrow little perspective that sometimes we only allow ourselves to work within.
Mm. And what sort of areas do you now work in? So give us a bit of a run sheet, if you like, of
Mm.
maybe the organisations that you've actually been very proactive in putting this preventative strategy in place.
Yeah, so well, it started off with me, I'm breaking it down for people to understand these little steps that I took. I'd never done a workshop, and So I had a friend help me to create one, just get a scaffold, and created this very simple workshop that I delivered to other nurses to help them understand about managing our self-care and compassion fatigue. And that was just like 4 people, and I got such great engagement, and people really, really responded to it and told their friends about it. And so then it grew to giving a little wellness talk in that shift change between day shift and afternoon shift in the emergency department. And then a colleague asked me if I come out to the correctional centre and do a little talk for them. So that we sort of did a specially adapted 1 hour workshop there. And so it just sort of word got around, and that was pro bono. And then I had an organisation that approached me. They said, look, we heard you're doing stress management with nurses. We've got lots of stressed people. Do you think you could do some workshops for us? Mm-hmm. And I thought, oh no. Sort of that inner voice that sort of said, I don't think I could do that. And then I got curious again and thought, but what if I could? And knowing Christine Boucher worked in that area, and knowing that she was helping other coaches to move into that space, I got in touch with her and I said, look, these people have approached me. What's the best way to attack it? Because I know it's different to working with individuals. And so she guided me and helped me to sign them up to give them a service and to find out what their pain points were and what worked for their people. And it was awesome. Like, it's so good. And I'm still working with that company. Doing, like, I do a wellness talks every few months. I do workshops with them that have to bend and sway according to the organisation's requirements and what time they've got free for their people, but it's what they need. So, if they're struggling with communication or, it's different things. It could be stress. I have another one that evolved from a need for a bit more emotional intelligence and courageous conversations. And so, sort of weave in a few different things there, because I've noticed that in nursing, we deal with the stress response, and it's very much about the physical response to stress. Sepsis is the classic example. But in my wellness coaching, I'm seeing more of the mental and emotional stress response and how that affects how we show up and how we show up in our teams. So I like to weave that in so it helps people with their awareness.
Yes, yeah, nice. And when you're like, it's really good that you were in a situation where people were approaching you. So word of mouth is really good. But have you ever been, and I know Christine, she talks about, making a presentation to an organisation about the benefits and working with them to look at the benefits of having a wellbeing program in their organisation. What are some of what's the approach for decision makers in organisations? Like, how do you present that to them so that it is an attractive thing that they go, yes, we want to get Celeste into our workplace?
What's
the key thing?
Sorry. Right. Very much a work in progress for me, Wendy, but it comes from listening well to what the decision makers' pain points are and their aspirations and their desires. So what do they want for their company? And in the current climate, what I'm hearing is that they want they're tired of turnover. They want to retain their staff. It's draining them in terms of resources, in terms of their, like, the physical resources of people who are doing the interviewing and, chasing up and all that, of applicants. But it also is expensive. And they're losing that talent, and they're losing the wisdom, and they're losing their mentors. And that's a pain point. Sometimes you lose that collective memory of how we did things. And so tapping into that, tapping into, so what it's costing them to not do anything about it. If they're losing people because they're stressed and they're burning out, they also want to be ahead of the pack. They want to have, a good reputation, and it's becoming more of a of a desirable thing to be helping your people with their health and well-being,
Mm.
and particularly if it engages them. And I think that is the piece where I need to go to the next level to find out what is it that engages their people, because they'll be different to they could be different to what's happening for the decision makers.
Yes.
But it's about nurturing their people. It's about improving productivity and not losing money, losing wisdom, all those things, and being an employer of choice.
Yes. And a lot of nurses, they nurse for a number of years and they reach a point where they are saturated and looking for
Mm.
other opportunities. And
Mm.
it's what I've found. That's the pivot point where nurses are looking for advancement,
Right.
acknowledgement, being
Yep.
valued.
Yep.
And that all comes into play with their overall well-being. And
Mm.
you're right, like it's the perception of the middle management or the key decision makers is completely different to the nurses that are in that
Yes.
situation at the moment. So what is their pain point? And
Yes.
yes, and an engaged nurse that is passionate in the workplace is like gold to an
Yes.
organisation. Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah. And
Mm.
that's the thing I've seen, particularly when I was most recently working in the hospital environment in emergency. And oh my goodness, the churn and losing our mentors, those valuable mentors that are senior people, because they just can't do it anymore. Can't keep doing the extra,
Mm.
and then the stress that puts on the new ones that are coming through that are so capable, and they step up, but it's just, yeah, like it's just wearing away, at them too soon.
They're not Ferraris. They can't go from 0 to 100 k's an hour
Yeah,
in two
yeah.
weeks, can they?
Yes, yeah. And it's that nurturing. And I
Yes.
don't know if it's I'm sure it's not me. I have heard others say this outside of nursing as well, that when we care for others a lot, there's something deep down that we really would love someone to care for us. We really want someone that's going to say, "Oh, here you go." Like, how valuable is it when one of your colleagues comes and says, "You go have your break. I can handle this."
Mm.
And that is just so powerful. Someone comes from another ward, they're deployed, and they don't shuffle and they just come straight down. It's like, okay, what do you need? And you find if you're the person that's come to help, you might only do 3 sets of obs and some medications or an IV, IV antibiotic, and all of a sudden that person is caught up and just like, it's such a relief. And I feel like that is so valuable, and we don't get too much of that.
No. And that's a perfect segue into my next question is, what can the nurses in the workplaces do to foster their well-being within their workplaces? You've just
Mm.
mentioned like offering a hand, offering
Yes,
that support. It may seem like simple tasks, but
yes,
there are 3 or 4 tasks that are on that busy, stressed out nurses list that is
yes,
now off their list and they're actually
yes.
having a 10-minute break. What are
Yep.
some of the other things that you would encourage our nurses to do in the workplace? Like you're not having someone from outside the unit, such as yourself, coming in and say, you should do this, this, and this. What are some of the things that the nurses can do for themselves?
Okay. Well, I just want to add one little thing to what we were just saying about helping out.
Sure.
And that is, and I see this from a lot of different angles, but if you're asked or, to go and help for half an hour, or whatever it is in another ward, and your first reaction is, oh crap, I'm a midwife. I haven't worked in medical ward for 15 years. I wouldn't know
Yes.
what to do. And our defenses go up. Just try and notice that and just think, well, hang on a minute, they're not asking me to do anything that's out of my scope. I can do a blood pressure. I'm going to go down there and see what I can do to help. And you never know, it might just make all the difference instead of putting up the barriers. And sometimes it's our fears, I think, get in the way of us doing that. because that little thing, timely help, just makes such a difference. And as a health and wellness coach, oh, look, I really think simple things like a breathing break, like box breathing, is one of the best tools for just, particularly if you sense that overwhelm,
Mm.
to well, I call it my own little timeout. I'd call on myself, and I used to have to do it regularly. I actually had a timer on my watch when I worked in ED after having not worked there for years and years, and I just it'd go off, and I'd inevitably be starting to get in the swirl, and I would take myself off to the storeroom just to get away from all the stimulation, just for a minute, and breathe, close my eyes and do a check-in and ask myself, what do I need? Have I been to the loo? Have I had a drink of water? How long is it since I've had a break? So that then I could take action on that and then reprioritize and go again, and make a plan with a colleague, go and have that drink of water. Because I think so often we just get so focused on others and others' needs, and everyone's needs are going to go ahead of ours. But if we don't stop and fill our cup and look after ourselves, we can't keep giving from an empty cup. I think that's my biggest one, that breathing break. Just big
And
difference.
it only takes a minute or so, doesn't it? It's such a short period of time.
Yes.
And support the nurse too that wants to take that break,
Yes.
because it will be you one day that will need
Yes.
that break.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for that. And because you've been nursing for such a long period of time, if you had a magic wand and if you could change something in nursing to make it a better, make it a better place for everyone, what would that change be?
Oh, it's hard to pick one. I think, we talk about, particularly with COVID, we talk about our healthcare workforce being on the front lines. And when I think about, the drawing a parallel with our armed forces and people who are on the front lines in battlefields, they're never out there for, well, not never, but as much as possible, they are given a tour and then they're pulled out and then they go back in again. But then they're pulled out and they're given a different kind of work away from the front line for a period, and then they can restore and go back in again. And I think that somehow it would be awesome if we could come up with something that helps our nurses at the front lines to be able to step back, to get out of shift work if that's what they need, or to get out of the clinical environment for a period. So whether it's to do a project for a month somewhere, or because I hear people say, oh, when is it my turn? When do I get to do that? I'd love that break. Or others who have had that break and they took a secondment and then they come back and they've got the passion back again. And it really helps to keep them in the game for the long term. So if I had a magic wand, I know that's pretty open, Wendy, but that's my offering.
Is to somehow model that into the model of care that we do.
Yes.
Yes, rather than it be used as somebody returning to work or someone who is coming back from stress leave.
Yes.
It's to put it in as a preventative strategy.
Yes.
I think that's an
proactive.
Excellent. Yes, it is. Yeah, and it's acknowledging the experience that nurses have that are transferable to do other things that is going to enhance client care from a different perspective. Yeah.
Yes.
I love it. I think that's a fabulous idea.
I just spoke with a colleague a week or so ago who is one of our very valuable, beautiful level 2s in ICU here, and she's just so good, and she was feeling tired, and she was able to take a secondment for 6 months in quality control, quality assurance, and now she's back, and she's just a different person. And I'm just so thrilled for her, because we keep this precious person who has such influence over the workforce in that unit, and it's such a positive influence and her wisdom, that we keep her that in that environment where she loves to be, and is contributing to not just the team but her patients as well. We
Yeah.
need more of that.
Yes. And you made a comment of, the other nurses saying, when is it my turn?
Yes.
It's also the other nurses going, good on you, enjoy that break, so that they themselves can actually be a part of that plan.
Yes, yes. And
Mm,
actively looking, where are the opportunities? How could I make it happen? Who do I need to talk to that might help me start that ball rolling?
yes,
They might not have the solution, but things evolve out of conversations, don't they?
they do indeed. I think too, I'm going to flip it to some of the nurse personalities that would say, oh, but I'm so needed at the bedside. I need to stay at the bedside. What words of advice would you say?
Well, at what cost to you, and why is that? That Yeah, like what I get it, that it's fulfilling a need deep within to be serving others, to be helping others, but what would it take to look after you first, so that then you can come back and keep doing that?
Yes,
Because if you burn out tomorrow, you're not going to be there, and they're going to have to figure it out without you.
that's right. Yes,
So work is a transaction at the end of the day.
yes. You're fulfilling an organisational need. And individually, yes, you are doing a personal need, but
Yes.
in reality, you are there to do a job, and a
Yeah.
job that could be replaced by somebody else. So,
Unfortunately, that's the cold, hard reality
yes,
of it.
it
But because
is.
we're heartfelt in our job,
Yes,
that's very hard to separate the two. But it's so helpful for us if we can find a way.
yes, yeah, definitely. And I'm asking all of my guests this because I think it's an opportunity to impart one piece of gold nugget of advice to particularly our junior nurses out there. What gold nugget would you say to them?
Oh, hmm. I think I've got two. They
You
tie
can
in
have two.
together.
You can have two.
It's like, take care of yourself,
Mm,
back yourself. Like, back yourself. You've got this. You can do this.
nice. Really support your own future.
Yes, yes, yes. It's that, yeah, like, give yourself a hug every day, every
I
day.
love it.
Don't look out there for someone else to give it yourself, because that'll just, yeah, help you to keep showing up and backing yourself.
Beautiful. Thanks, Celeste. It's been a delight talking to you for the last 20, 25 minutes. And thank you so much for your words, encouragement, and sharing with us, what you've done over your career. And thank you for your service as well. And looking broader than just the clinical area, and looking outside and being very curious, as you said, about the other opportunities, because look what impact you're actually making.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Thanks, Wendy.
You're more than welcome.
Been a
So,
pleasure.
yeah, you've been listening to Your Nurse Voice Matters. We look forward to delivering the next episode to you, and we'll see you and talk to you soon. Bye for now.